And you never know for sure what day your launch is going to be. It's kind of like preparing for the Super Bowl, but not knowing what day the Super Bowl is on. Because you can have weather problems, you can have computer problems, you can have everything. We had a little bit of everything on our launch day. There's only a 30% chance we were going to launch that day. There was a 70% chance that the weather was going to stop us. So we sat up there and we looked at the weather, and it would rain a little bit, and then it would clear up, and finally it started to clear. And so we figured, wow, this is good. And finally they said we're going to be go for launch. And the clock kept going down, and we came out of the T-minus 9 minute hold. And the T-minus 9 hold is a very critical event in the shuttle launch countdown, because if anything's going wrong, they'll stop the count there and they'll recycle for the next day. But they went through the weather, through the range, and everything was clear. And so we said that we're go for launch. At that point, you think, okay, this is it. And from T-minus 9, you simulate that a lot, so you know what to expect. And as the clock got down, we started the auxiliary power units, and the vehicle starts coming to life, and you're ready to go. And at 31 seconds before launch, the clock stopped. We didn't get an alarm, we didn't get anything inside the vehicle, it just stopped. And we could hear on the microphone, the clock has been stopped due to a failure. And we're like, what kind of failure? And so we didn't know, because and none of our systems were having any problems and stuff. And so the launch control folks, we figured at this point we only have about a couple of minutes of hold time, and then we're going to have to scrub. So we're figuring, we're not going to launch today. But you could hear from their voices that it sounded like they knew what the problem was. And what it was that the big access arm on the very top of the shuttle, they thought it was rotated away, but they didn't have telemetry or data that verified that. So they swung a camera over, and I'll show you in a little video shortly. They swung a camera over, looked at it, and verified it was away, and then we were go to launch. So the next big milestone is at T-minus 6 seconds. The main engines start, but you notice we haven't taken off yet. So for 6 seconds, the main engines rumble, and you can feel the thing really shakes. And then if the main engines are operating properly at T-minus 0, the white solid rocket boosters will light, and then it's time to go flying whether you're ready or not. And it's an absolutely amazing ride. You climb up from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in 8.5 minutes. And it really is, if you like roller coasters, it's the best roller coaster ride you could ever have, So now, as challenging it is to be a crew member on board a space vehicle on launch day, there's some other people that have even a harder day in some respects. And that's these people. That's my wife, Margie, and off to the left, my son, Alex, and my son, Jeffrey. And that's me riding that controlled explosion in the background there. So you can see it's an exciting time for them, but it's tough to watch somebody. When you're inside the shuttle, you feel like you have a little bit of control. So in some ways, it's harder to watch a friend launch than it is to launch yourself, because you feel like you have a little bit of sense of control. But when you're watching your friend, there's nothing you can do. You just kind of watch. And like you see, the clouds did clear away enough for us to get off, but there was a high ceiling there, which we plowed through pretty quickly. Once you get to space, you can take off your orange suit, put on regular clothes. And then by the third day, we started approaching the space station. And this is our cargo module inside our trunk there. This is a picture from the space station looking back at us. And there's the space station. It's an amazing facility. You can see it's the size of a 5-bedroom house now. And now that we've finished the space shuttle program, we've completed assembly of the space station. So now it can do what it's designed to do, which is research. We do all kinds of basic research. We do research on the human body, and we do research about how to maintain systems in space for a long time. So all the things we need to know to go to Moon and Mars and beyond someday, which we're going to talk about next, we're learning those things in a really, really great place there up in the International Space Station. So this is Sandy in our logistics module. All this is the stuff that we brought up in the logistics module, and we had to take all of that stuff, bring it over to the space station, and then bring all the stuff that has to go back down to Earth and put it back in this canister. So now when you guys have gone on a long trip, and you've come back from your trip and you unpack your car, what does your house start to look like? Probably like the space station when we got there. So we unpacked all our stuff, and it was a lot of stuff, so it got a little bit chaotic in there, but we were able to put as much of it away as we could. And like I said, when we were there, two of the space station astronauts did a spacewalk. And what you can see here is Mike Fossum on the end of the robotic arm, and he's doing a spacewalk, and I was helping him walk through the procedures and stuff. And when I saw this picture after the flight, I go, of all the places on Earth to be around, just so happened that he was over basically my hometown near San Carlos up there in San Francisco. That's Lake Tahoe over there. And then down here is Edwards Air Force Base down in Southern California. So you can see how far you can see from LA to San Francisco without a problem. So when you do a spacewalk, this is a picture from my second mission of me on the Columbus module. It feels a lot like you're in the pool, but obviously the view is a whole lot better. But one thing that happens when you're going 17,000 miles an hour, you go around the Earth every 90 minutes. So what that means is the first 45 minutes you're in front of the Earth and everything's bright and sunny like this. And the second 45 minutes, it starts getting dark, right? It's because you're behind it, and so it gets to be pitch black at times. So I'll show you what it looks like difference. And this is beautiful daytime. You can see, I can see all around me. Now I'm going to, in the next couple of pictures, I'm going to move down to where that bag is, to the right here. And so it starts getting dark, so I turn on my helmet lights. And then this is that same area at nighttime. So you can see it gets really dark. And we have helmet lights, so they light up that one area. But it's a lot more fun when it's daytime out, I'll tell you that much. This is the crew we had to do our mission with. This is the 4 of us from the space shuttle, and then 6 astronauts were on the space station. The space station is the best example of international cooperation I've ever been a part of. It's absolutely amazing. You think of what's going on in the world right now, and you look at the team we've got. We've got Americans, we've got 2 Russians, or 3 Russians, and we've got a Japanese astronaut, and we're all working together as one team. And we work together as one team really well. We've learned how to do that. So despite all the problems you hear about in the world, the folks who are teammates in space are doing a great job together. And they treat us like brothers, and we should. We all work together, we solve problems together, and it's really an amazing example of cooperation. Of course, you got to look out the window a little bit when you're up there. So this is me looking out the cupola, which is the big window module up there. Italy looks like a boot, like you'd expect. This is San Francisco. This is from my hometown. I always like to show that. Hawaii, that's a big island of Hawaii with a little bit of magnification. Yeah, you see the mountains. Where's this? That's right, you are here. That's Chicago down the bottom. There's Michigan off to the right. I had to throw that one in there. This is the Middle East. And the Middle East is one of the neatest places to see from space because it's usually clear like this. And what I like to show is, see here, this is the Mediterranean Sea here. That's Egypt right there. The Nile River is off to the left. Israel, and all the places, if you think about it, you're seeing Syria, Iraq, and some of the most war-torn places in the world. And you look down there and it looks very peaceful. No borders. And then you look at this line right on the side here at where the Earth meets space, and there's a little bright blue band. It's very, very tiny. It's just a sliver. That's your atmosphere, and that's all that keeps us alive. And I always like to say, if the people on the world that are living down there had a chance to come up here and see what it's like, they'd see that we have a lot more in common, and we have a lot more reason to cooperate, as we're all riding on the same planet, and basically it's your spaceship. Now, one thing fun to do when you're on that part of the Earth is to try to find the pyramids from space. So the way to do that is you look for the Nile River, which you see here, and then you look for the Cairo. Cairo is right here, this big gray area. And cities from space look gray like that. And to find the pyramids, you go where Cairo meets the desert, up at the top there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And there's where Cairo meets the desert. You see the pyramids right there. You see the shadows that they're casting. Another thing of note is the aurora. The aurora are absolutely spectacular from space. You're actually looking down on them instead of up at them. And then after a week at the space station, it was time to come home. So we undock from the space station. We fly all the way around it. And then we reduce our speed, so we start going back into the Earth's atmosphere. And you can see that comet-like thing. That's actually a picture of us from the space station, and we're at the head of that comet there. And so when I showed my son Jeff this picture, he said, "Wow, that looks like a meteor." And I said, "Jeffrey, I'm inside that meteor." And I'll tell you, when you're at night like that, when you're going so fast, there's a flame of plasma about 1,000 miles behind you, and it looks like you're in a blast furnace up there. It's really absolutely spectacular. And then we land like a conventional airplane. And I got a short little video here. We'll show some of the highlights of the mission.
Okay, Fergie, we're starting to feel pretty good down here on the ground about this one today. So on behalf of the greatest team in the world, good luck to you and your crew on the final flight of the true American icon. So for the final time, Fergie, Doug, standing ready. Good luck, Godspeed, and we'll fun out there.
That's Chris Ferguson, our commander. Doug Hurley, our Marine Corps pilot. Sandy, she's our certified smart person. Dr. Sandy Magnus. And then me. So there's the T-9 hold I told you about. They check everything, make sure everything's going well. When you come out of that, you think, okay, we're really going to launch today. Not quite so fast. So there's our 31-second hold. And so they take the camera and they swing it back, And they can see, as they swing it away, okay, it's parked where it's supposed to be, so we can pick up the launch countdown. And when they pick up the countdown from T-minus 31 seconds, that doesn't give you a whole lot of time to collect your thoughts. So it's just like, okay, we'll pick up the count, and then all of a sudden the engines start rumbling and go, hey, I guess we're going. So T-minus 6, the main engines come up. And this next picture is us inside. And I'm in the center part of that picture there with a big smile on my face. You can tell I don't like riding rockets. My wife always says, do you really have to smile? Can't you just show some concern, please? When we get to space, and Doug here is checking out the robotic arm. So now we do a backflip, and the folks on the space station, they use their long-range cameras and they take pictures of us to make sure there's no damage to our heat shield, to our tiles. And then once we finish the backflip, we can go on in and dock with them. Now they're taking the logistics module out and attaching it to the space station so we can unload all that material. And here we're helping Mike and Ron do their spacewalk. That's a picture they took from outside. It's the nose of our shuttle on the end there. Now we bring them back in the airlock and we repressurize it, and then we can bring them out and get them out of their suits. Now, if you're in space, you gotta have a little bit of fun. Now that looks easy, but it took about 5 takes because we kept crashing into each other, so it's not as easy as it looks. This is Sandy's favorite socks.
Okay, Mike, you probably have a future in quality organization. Hey, that's the great thing about the space flight. You know, one day you're doing the most outrageous thing humans have ever done, spacewalking. The next day you're fixing toilets and packing boxes. Good evening, Sandy. Go ahead and transfer. Okay, clear all these compounds. I show everything complete in the MPLM, and it's actually chock full.
Linus departing the International Space Station for the last time.
This is a little experiment I was doing on the shuttle to test how you can clean water in zero gravity. And that's what happens when you have water, it just on your hand and stuff, it just kind of sticks to your hands like that. Then we deployed a little payload, a little satellite, the last one deployed from the shuttle program. So that's a picture from the satellite looking back at us. Then it was time to get our spacesuits back on and head home. And that's that the fireball out the top windows you see there above me. And then the view looking from the shuttle. And it lands like an airplane.
We've used it back there in the world for over 30 years since they settled in this place industry.
Now, as fun as it is to fly in space, one of the best parts is coming home. It's an amazing thing to be a part of, but it sure is great when you're back with your family and your friends back in Houston, and you live to tell about it. And so now the shuttle has been retired. What are we doing? How are we getting to the space station? We spent so many billions of dollars and years building that. How do we get back and forth from there? Well, right now we take rides with the Russians on the Soyuz spacecraft. We pay them a lot of money to take our astronauts up there. Whereas, certainly we can build those types of vehicles here in the United States, and that's what we're doing right now. We're working really hard with what's called the Commercial Crew Program to build these vehicles to ferry our astronauts to and from the space station. And that allows us, as NASA, to do the true exploration, to go deep space, and we'll talk about that, and Mark's going to talk about that in a second. So there's 3 companies that have been vying for these contracts to send our astronauts to the space station. The Boeing company, they have a capsule like that. The Sierra Nevada had a winged vehicle similar to a mini shuttle, and then SpaceX had a capsule also. This is Boeing's design. It could fit several people in there depending on how much cargo you want to bring up there. Sierra Nevada, their concept was a winged vehicle, very much smaller than the shuttle, but it wasn't meant to do the same thing the shuttle did. It was made to just bring people and not bring the cargo. And then SpaceX has been delivering cargo to the space station, and they want to modify their Dragon vehicle to carry astronauts too. Now, we recently had an announcement that we selected Boeing and SpaceX to build these vehicles and gave them a contract, but there's still a few legal issues we have to resolve before we continue on with that program. And like I said, that allows NASA to do what we want to do, true exploration. We can hand the low Earth orbit to the space station, to the commercial sector, but then NASA can do what's much more challenging, which is go to deep space. And Orion will be lifted off on the Space Launch System, this large rocket. It'll be the largest rocket in the world when we have the final configuration. And so we're starting that. And so I'm working to help work on the spacesuits and work on crew issues. And then Mark and all of our friends that are working on the Orion program are working to build this vehicle now. Mark's going to come up and talk about Orion, and he's got some great experience. He's been working on this for many years. He's a deputy program manager of this multi-billion-dollar program, and so you guys got a real treat to hear him. So Mark, without any further ado, I'll